Hello, my name is Edwin. Naramdaman mo ba yung feeling na kung nanood ka ng Star Wars, gusto mong mag-pilot nung mga spaceships doon, yung X-Wing or yung mga TIE Fighter? Ako, nung bata ako, excited talaga ako. Nung napanood ko ang first movie na napanood ko is yung Return of the Jedi, tapos napanood ko yung Battle of Endor. Nung napanood ko yung mga space battles doon, I was hooked. I really wanted to watch all the Star Wars movies nung napanood ko yun. And this time, we're gonna pilot the ships from the Star Wars. So, we'll be reviewing Star Wars Squadrons. Matagal na ako fan ng Star Wars. I've been a fan as long as I can remember. So, nung napanood ko yung Star Wars dati, talagang nung nakita ko yung space battle scene, talagang I really wanted to fly my own space ship. Parang yun. So, nalaman ko yung X-Wing. Gusto mo kasakay ng sarili ko X-Wing. So, I really wanted to get that experience. So, nung nag-declare yung LucasArts na maglalabas sila ng X-Wing na game sa PC noong 1993, I really wanted to get one. Talagang excited ako mong laruin siya. Yung X-Wing released a few games in the franchise. Pero it stopped nung lumabas yung X-Wing Alliance. Alliance was the last X-Wing game. And that was like 21 years ago. So, wala nang sumunod nun. After nun, wala nang lumabas na iba pa. Kasi at that time, medyo parang nag-die down ang mga ganong klaseng games. So, nawala siya. Nawala yung buong style ng game niya. Space combat games just went gone. So, it was a nice surprise na biglang lumabas itong Squadrons, which is kailan ba? October 2020. So that's 21 years since the last X-Wing. To tell you the truth, it was a bit disappointing nung hindi nagkaroon ng ibang games na under the X-Wing brand. I suppose kaya itong Motive Studios na pagawa sila ng bagong Star Wars game. Yung game na to is available sa PC, sa Xbox, sa PlayStation. Meron din siyang option na makapaggamit ng virtual reality. Tapos pwede ka rin gumamit ng mga sarili mong controller na katulad ng mga hands-on throttle and stick. So, ang ano naman nun is yun nga, parang may control ka na parang nasa spaceship ka or nasa aeroplano ka. Pero yung review na gagawin ko is mostly focused sa basically yung computer na gamit ko, yung regular na game controller lang. Pero nalaro ko rin to with the keyboard and mouse, pero I'm not really happy with that setup. Initial impressions ko sa game was actually bad. Hindi ko kasi nagustuhan yung ginawa ng Epic. Kasi sa Epic Game Store ko siya kinuha. Nagulat ako nung kinuha ko sa kanya. Nung ini-install ko na siya, nagulat ako na nag-login pa siya sa EA Origin. That's a separate game launcher pa from the Epic launcher. Nainis ako na I had to use both game launchers just to play the game. Note na ginawa na rin to ng EA with Ubisoft. Pero ang gusto ko naman sa ginawa nila is that pwede lang, ang gagawin lang ng Ubisoft, i-register lang niya yung game mo sa system nila. Pero pag nilalaro mo na siya, you can use yung Ubisoft launcher lang without actually using the Epic launcher kung gusto mo. Hindi katulad dito sa ginawa ng Epic Game Store. You really have to use both. Kung wala yung dalawa, hindi talaga tatakbo yung game. So, hassle lang kasi sometimes you don't want to have several launchers running kasi kakain siya ng memory. Pero, at this game, you just don't have a choice. So, that's big. Yung problem na yun, just medyo, it just left a bad taste. Bago mag-start yung game, kailangan mag-setup ka agad ng 2 characters. Isa sa Galactic Empire, isa naman sa Rebel Alliance. This gives you immediately an idea na dalawang sides ang lalaroin mo. So, yung pag-design ng character, hindi naman komplikado. It's not as deep as most games, parang Sims or parang katulad ng Elder Scrolls. Diba, pag ganun, talagang daming detail, every single part ng mukha, papalitan mo. Dito, wala talaga. You just choose a face and just, you're done. Mag-unlock lang yung mga facial options kapag naglalaro ka na ng multiplayer game. Pero that comes much later. Generally, after ng first 2 missions, pwede ka nang mag-start sa mga multiplayer game. Pero in terms of story, since nag-umpisa ka na, well, you just have to stick to it unless na gusto mo mag-restart using those new faces later on. Pero you won't unlock most of the faces until maglaro ng mga multiplayer game. Dahil doon, medyo I was slightly disappointed with it kasi kaya wala ako masyadong choice kung anong mga faces. I would have wanted to start a character na ibang race, hindi lang human. Pero yun nga, yung starting character lang talaga dito is human. So, you're not really given much of a choice. Yung training missions niya sets you up sa time right after the destruction of Alderaan. Which is ito yung storya na nangyari during sa Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. So dito, nag-start na rookie pilot ka pa lang under the Galactic Empire and your first mission is to identify ships kasi baka titingnan mo kung meron bang mga tumatakas na nanggaling sa Alderaan. Ang interesting dito, yung mission na to, may subtle callback siya dun sa original na X-Wing kasi the first mission na ginagawa mo dun is identifying ships na kung may Imperial supplies. So the first mission sets you up piloting a TIE fighter without revealing too much of the story. Right after matapos mo yung first mission, you're immediately jumped into the Rebel Alliance using another character na ginawa mo no bago mag-start yung game. This time, ikaw naman yung X-Wing pilot na trabaho mo is to save naman the people from the Galactic Empire. So this tells you na you'll be jumping around from the Galactic Empire to the Rebel Alliance and vice versa. After ng initial 2 missions, may 4-year time jump. And this sets you up sometime after the Battle of Endor. At this point, yung Rebel Alliance, nagbago na sila ng pangalan into the New Republic. So the game will focus on the Empire's Titan Squadron at sa New Republic's Vanguard Squadron. But the story will focus more on 2 characters, which is yung si Lyndon Javes, which is kasama siya sa New Republic, tapos si Teria Kirill sa Galactic Empire. The game will also introduce other familiar characters, especially kung familiar ka sa Star Wars lore. And syempre, pag mahilig ka talaga sa Star Wars, exciting yung makita mo yung mga familiar characters na yun. Nagustuhan ko yung idea na nag-jump around ka from one side to another. But, I think it missed a lot of opportunities. Wala kasi sa game na makita mong naglalaban talaga yung dalawang squadrons against each other. Which is sayang kasi they're mentioned na may parang subtle mention na parang nag-aaway sila. Pero it just never happens. It would be also interesting sana kung makita mong may effect talaga yung nangyayari sa mga characters na to. Kung pare, what if ko namatay yung isa? Pero hindi eh, walang moment na ganun eh. Parang generally everybody's safe from start to finish. In other words, the story overall is told in a fixed narrative. There is no way for you to influence the story whatsoever. Kung i-compare mo to sa dating X-Wing games, it's not really that different. All X-Wing games has a fixed narrative. After ng general introduction ng game, you'll be put inside the hangar ng Star Destroyer. You're allowed to look at anything, but you're not allowed to move from your spot. So, pwede mong gawin dito, wala. Titingin ka lang, explore, check it out. Ano meron dito, ganun. Tapos, the more na nakakatapos ka ng mga missions, may makikita ka mga moments na nakikipag-usap ka with other characters. Ito talaga yung mga times na malalaman mo yung mga characters sa loob ng story. Tapos, you'll get to know them a lot more better. You're also allowed to look at your ship. Pwede ka lumapit, tingnan mo yung cockpit, tingnan mo yung likod, tingnan mo yung side, medyo tingnan mo from a higher perspective. Pero if you have a VR headset, it's a much better experience kasi talagang pwede ka talagang tumingin na maayos. Pero it's always in a fixed position. So the only way for you to move around is kailangan i-click mo yung highlight sa game. Kailangan hanapin mo yung highlight tapos punta ka dun. Once lipat ka dun, pwede ka tumingin ulit and look around your position tapos hanap ko ulit ng highlight. I suppose yung sayang lang sa moment na to is yung time na kinakausap mo yung mga characters pero wala ka talagang choice. Wala kang influence sa mga sinasabi nila. So it's just sad kasi you're just basically a spectator. You really don't interact with them. Pero sasabihin nila na importante ka sa grupo nila but you really don't do anything. You're just listening to their stories and their background. Pero it's a good they give interesting stories, they give interesting ideas. Pero yun nga, it's just you're just a spectator dun sa game. So, ang highlight ng game is basically you piloting a starfighter ship in the Star Wars universe. When you start a mission, you're always sitting inside the cockpit. There will be small moments of where you can look around, but in general, you'll just be facing forward throughout the entire game. Pero kung meron kang VR, you're always allowed to look around at any time. Pero ang sarap ng feeling ng game na to, as in talaga yung pag-capture niya, no? Feeling nasa loob ka ng cockpit ng X-Wing or TIE Fighter or A-Wing or whatever Star Wars ship na pwede mong ipilot dito. It really gives that feeling na Star Wars. Ang sarap ng feeling, it just gives my feeling of being a child again. Pero yun, in terms of yung sa screen mo, you're always informed. Lahat ng kailangan mo sa game, informed ka agad sa harapan mo. You don't really need to look around. Hindi ka tulad na pag mag-VR ka. The VR part only helps you look around the area. Pero all the information is in front of you. So ano mga information makikita mo is like tulad ng radar, thrusters, power management, targeting, main firepower, status ng ship, missiles, countermeasures, and other details depending on the klaseng ship ang gamit mo. So, kuwari New Republic ships ang gamit mo, so aka mga Rebel Alliance, you'll notice na merong mas maganda yung visibility niya. You can really look around, tingnan mo yung mga pero you don't feel it kapag naka regular computer ka. You only feel that kapag naka VR ka. So I think that's the disadvantage of not having a VR system. Pero kung wala, the game would feel like the same. Yung riding a TIE Fighter would be almost the same as riding an X-Wing. So as I mentioned earlier, yung mga Galactic Empire mga ships, ng mga TIE fighters, limited yung visibility niya. Ang problem din nila, they have almost to no shields at all. Pero meron silang quick repair na wala naman yung iba. Meron mga specific abilities yung mga iba-ibang mga ships. Parang katulad ng A-Wing, pati yung TIE Interceptor. They're both incredible sa speed. Yung mga Y-Wing naman, pati mga TIE Bombers, babagal sila pero they have heavy armor but they have more missiles. Yung U-Wing, pati yung TIE Reaper is designed for supply and support other ships. Yung controls ng game takes a while to get used to. Pero the story mode will really give you a chance to get the feel of the game. Actually, think of the story mode as a big training mission sa'yo. Pero yung controls niya is not as complicated as the old X-Wing games, which practically uses half of the keyboard. Ito, everything can work well sa sa gamepad lang. Ang maganda naman sa game na to, it's even though it's simplified, you're also allowed to customize however you want to do it. Remember, I think I mentioned earlier that you're also allowed to use a joystick or yung mga tinatawag nilang hands-on a throttle and stick. Basically, mga joystick and meron mga throttle systems. Medyo it's a complicated game system. Pero ang ganda ng kasi highly customizable siya. If you can afford getting one of those, it gives the game a better immersion. Pero yun nga, highly customizable siya. So it's ang problem lang siguro with highly customizable games, it just takes a while for you to adjust to it. Siguro kung magka-setup ka ng sarili mong control scheme, just give it an hour or more to figure out ano yung mga controls sa komportable ka. Kasi although you can just play with a regular gamepad, the gamepad does not make you feel immersed sa game. Yung joystick does make you feel na nandun ka talaga, para nag-pilot ka talaga ng ship. The same thing with the VR. If you have the VR and you have the joystick, grabe talaga yung immersion na gagawa niya. Pero I played this game with just basic DualShock controller. Okay naman siya. As in, it works almost as well as a regular gamepad ng Xbox. Ang problem ko lang siguro dito is when somehow, pag nadi-disconnect ako sa internet, nadi-disconnect din yung controller ko for some reason na hindi ko maintindihan. Pag nag-disconnect siya, nahihirapan ako i-connect ulit. Pag i-connect ko siya, somehow it recognizes my gamepad as a joystick. Ang problem doon, hindi lahat ng controls gumagana. So, once in a while, I shift to mouse and keyboard setup para lang matuloy ko lang yung laro. Pero that was issue na I rarely experience. So, okay lang. So, I can manage naman doon. Pero note, I'm using a PC. A PC talaga, yun yung problem with playing PC games. Sometimes meron mga quirks talaga na medyo nakakainis that you don't experience when using or playing on a console. So if you want to get yung talagang walang problemang experience, I'd just go for a console instead. Pero yun, pero in terms of yung full experience, I think the PC is much better kasi sa PC ka makakuha ng VR at sa PC ka makakuha ng yung mga joystick. Nung nagkakaroon ng error yung computer ko regarding sa controls, sobrang hirap siyang kontrolin. I have to restart the entire computer to get control again dun sa game. So medyo nakakainis lang. But as I mentioned earlier, I just only had to go through this a couple of times. The power management function ng game is a real callback dun sa dating X-Wing games. Kasi the old X-Wing games really defined that compared to other games of the similar genre. Yung X-Wing talaga nag-introduce ng system na to. Tapos because of that, parang it defined X-Wing on its own. Dati kasi yung system ng power management, you pwede mong i-control by increments yung shields, yung lasers, and yung shields, lasers, pati engine. You can mix around kung paano efficiency gusto mong gamitin. Dito, simplified siya. As in, talagang sobrang simplified to the point na parang, pag pumili ka ng shields, todo agad ang shields. Pag pinili mo yung lasers, todo agad ang lasers. Pag pinili mo yung engines, todo agad yung engines. Ang interesting lang dito is, laging may boost yung system na pinili mo. So, parang pag pinalagay mo sa shields, mas malakas ang shields mo than normal. Pag pinili mo engines, magkakaroon ka ng special boost. Pag pinili mo yung lasers, bigla magkakaroon ka ng parang rapid fire. So, iba-iba yung effect. Depende kung anong pinili mong power management na saan siya magka-focus. It's a nod to the old X-Wing, pero at the same time, they had this refreshing take of improving it from the old style. Yung missions are amazingly done. Sa totoo lang, impressed ako sa missions. I enjoy repeating them if I can. Ang maganda kasi sa ginawa nila, there's always something happening. May nangyayari lagi. So dahil may nangyayari lagi sa kanya, you're always on your toes. You're always trying to do something. Walang downtime. That's a far cry from the old missions ng X-Wing. Kasi sa X-Wing talaga, as in, feeling mo parang sundalo ka talaga. Meron talaga may downtime. Parang pag sinabing magpapatrol ka, patrol talaga yung gagawin mo. Dito sa, ginawa nila dito sa Squadrons, every single moment, there is something happening. So kung magpapatrol ka man, yung patrol mo sandali lang at maya-maya may gagawin ka ng matindi. Maya-maya makikipag-away ka na. So, yun yung interesting dito sa ano na to. Na lahat ng missions niya interesting. Ang matitindi pa nga yung mga missions kasi once in a while biglang you're supposed to attack a big Star Destroyer. Alam mo naman sa movies parang kinakatakutan talaga mag-attack sa Star Destroyer. Pero kaya dito it's so fun kasi yung parang it's scary but you have to do it. Ang maganda naman din dito sa ginawa nila, sa mga missions, mayroong mga checkpoints which makes it a lot easier to play. Compared to sa mga lumang X-Wing games na ang walang checkpoint, you can only save, may auto-save lang siya once matapos yung mission. Dito naman, may checkpoint siya lagi. So, middle of the game, biglang matay ka, babalik ka lang sa previous checkpoint, which is not so far off dun sa ginawa mo earlier. So, hindi ganun kalayo yung hahabulin mo. Hindi katulad ng X-Wing, grabe talaga. May mga experience ko dun that was really stressful. Pag namatay ka pa dun, may chance na hindi na wala na yung character mo, uulit ka ng buong game. At dito, it does not happen. Ang siguro problem ko lang dito, yung story mode is, meron siyang tinatawag na story mode talaga. Hindi, yung easy mode niya is called story mode. Ang nangyayari naman dito is, sobrang dali naman ng game. It's ridiculously easy. The only way, it's not a fail-safe mode. There's a chance na as in, if you don't follow instructions, you can still fail. Pero if you follow instructions enough, you'll get through it without any issues. Nagkaroon pa nga ng time na kahit nasiraan ako ng controls, as I mentioned earlier. Pero nakalusot pa rin ako using the keyboard and mouse regardless of how I hated the keyboard and mouse setup. Pero siguro ang pinaka-ano ko dito, nakakabitin siya. Yung dating X-Wing kasi, there's a ton of missions that you can play on. Dito, you're just going through 14 or 15 missions. So, in a sense, the game is a tad short. Maybe short lang sa akin kasi nabitin talaga ako. Kasi kung isipin mo naman, you can finish through the story mga 8 to 10 hours. Siguro tapos mo na yung kwento. But, it's really actually a pretty good game considering yung mga ibang games na siguro abutin ka pa ng mga 6 hours lang. Katulad, I suppose, mga katulad ng Call of Duty. Alam ko, Call of Duty, mga 6 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, matapos mo na agad yung game. So, after nun, mag-multiplayer ka na. Dito, mga 8 to 10 hours bago ka mag-start with the multiplayer stuff. Pero, for me, it really wanted me to crave for more story. At the same time, sana nagdagdag pa sila ng ships kasi nabitin talaga ako. Isa sa mga highlights ng game na to, I think, is also the multiplayer. As I mentioned earlier, the story mode is a bit of a training mode para maintindihan mo yung controls. Yung multiplayer niya, you just have two options, dogfight and fleet battles. Dogfight is a straightforward 5 versus 5 mode na basically deathmatch na 5 versus 5. Pero yun nga, you really have to take advantage of the yung abilities ng ships. So you really have to try to work together on how to make the best out of what ships that you have. Pero yung fleet battles yung highlight talaga. So ang fleet battles kasi, it's like a tug of war game. Dahil ang objective mo is to try to destroy capital ships. Destroy capital ships and the same time destroy as many ships as you can. Kasi pag natalo ka sa pag-destroy ng mga ships, yung opponents mo ang susugod at magkakaroon sila ng additional capital ships para sumugod sa'yo. So, to defeat them, talunin mo ulit yung ships sila, tapos talunin mo rin yung kanilang mga capital ships. Yung graphics ng game na to is absolutely amazing. I've always wanted to see a modern recreation ng old X-Wing game. And yung game na to did not disappoint. There's so much detail in the game. Most of the cutscenes gumagamit din ng in-game graphics. Medyo nagulat lang din kasi ako ng isang time biglang hindi nag-load na maayos yung ulo ng character ko. Which is almost at the start of the game. Pero after nun, it's okay. It's not so bothersome. It only happened once. Pero during most of the game, medyo once in a while, yung loading ng ibang graphics medyo may konting kabagalan. Maybe it's effect ng SSD na gamit ko. Not so sure. Pero it's not bothersome pag once na nag-load up na lahat ng graphics, okay na lahat, dire-diretso na yung buong game. Sobrang ganda ng detail ng game kasi everything has this Star Wars look. In other words, he used universe effect. Kasi lahat ng bagay, may mga gas-gas, lahat ng bagay mukhang gamit na. Pero yun nga, yung may dating na parang nasa space ka talaga. Ang ganda ng itsura niya. As in, it might be more colorful than actual space, but it looks amazing. Tapos pag lumilipad ka pa, katulad ng itong pinapakita sa video, lumilipad ka na sa ibabaw ng mga ships or mga ibabaw ng mga space stations or biglang papasok ka sa loob ng mga tunnels, ang ganda talaga ng itsura niya. So about sa music and sound effects niya, maganda pa rin. Apparently, it's not the original John Williams score. Disclaimer ko lang, the music na narinig nyo ngayon is not from the game. Yung music ngayon is from Samuel Kim. I'll give the link below, check that out, maganda yung mga music niya. Dito sa game na to, they actually made an original score made by Gordy Hab. Maganda naman yung execution ng music, actually I really enjoyed it. Pero at the same time, they actually used din yung mga ibang mga tunes ng Star Wars. Very, very good. Lalo na pag nasa action ka na, you'll keep on hearing a lot of mga sounds ng Star Wars. Pero sometimes I think my head is running the music itself kasi nga feel mo talaga na sa loob ka ng Star Wars na game. Tapos yung mga sound effects na ginamit dito, it really sounds like parang nasa movies ka. Yung mga sounds ng mga TIE Fighters, yung mga sounds ng X-Wing, it really feels that parang nasa movies ka talaga. The game developers really did a lot of love and care dito sa game na to. You feel a lot of the details ginawa talaga as fans ng movies at fans ng X-Wing games. Katulad ng pag sinigurado lang na may fixed yung camera view from the first person standpoint. Tapos yung mga functions ng ship talaga maintain nila na parang yun yung power management. Alam ko gumawa rin yung Battlefront 2 is also a Star Wars game, pero hindi nila na-capture na maayos yung It was fun. I played Battlefront 2 na rin, pero it does not have that feeling na nagawa ng X-Wing. I did have issues sa game, pero nag-enjoy talaga ako sa kanya. Surprisingly, this is a budget game. As in, alam ko, most games, lalo na mga high-end games, is priced at $60. Pero nakuha ko tong game na to at $40. Actually, nakuha ko pa siya at a discount kasi may minus $10 pa nung nakuha ko. Dahil lang Epic Store, nag-offer siya ng minus $10 nung nakuha ko siya. Pero yun nga, I bought it fair and square. Walang nag-provide sa akin ito. No one gave me a copy. Pero it's surprising because EA did this game. Actually, EA published the game. Pero ang gumawa nito is Motive Studios. And Motive really did good dito sa game na to. They showed their passion. Interesting pa that they promised na wala nang microtransactions tong game na to. Not like yung Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 1. Well, Battlefront 2 mas notorious yun. Pero, ayun, wala na siyang additional na kahit ano. Pero at the same time, it's a bit disappointing kasi ang ganda talaga ng game. Pero bitin na bitin yung ships, bitin na bitin yung storya. I wish they add more. So what Motive Studios is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend this game. You can check it out. You can buy it at Steam. You can also get it at Epic. You can also buy it at the EA Origin Store kung gusto nyo. Siguro mas less hassle pag kukunin mo sa EA Origin Store kasi less yung mga logins sa gagawin mo. Pero overall, the game is really, really good. I highly recommend it. Especially if you love these kinds of games. Yung mga space simulation games. Pero maybe it's a niche market. Not so sure. Maybe it is kasi nga nawala siya for a period of time yung ganitong klaseng games. Pero yun nga, it feels like there's a comeback kasi naglalaro na yun nag-enjoy ko rin yung game na Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. And Epic Dangerous is also popular and hopefully lumabas din yung yung Squadrons 42 ni Chris Roberts. Pero yun. Anyway, thank you very much. I enjoyed this game a lot. My name is Edwin. This is Pinoy Video Gamer. Thank you for listening to my review.